NASA's Artemis missions had the goal of expanding us towards Mars. To secure the success of these missions, the moon was drilled to acquire the resources needed for cold nuclear fusion. On October 13, 2084, the lunar mining facility, Jupiter 2, became overrun with a virus that was transforming the inhabitants into monstrous beings. All communications were lost. An emergency task force has been formed to rescue the remaining survivors and stop the infection. Little do they know what true horrors await them.
Lunar Madness Entombed is a co-op sci-fi action mystery survival game showcasing elements from narrative, fantasy, discovery, and challenge aesthetics. The narrative of this game focuses on solving the mysteries of the Jupiter 2 calamity. Players will be encouraged to discover and uncover new items, materials, and secrets while surviving the horrors of the lunar base. Players will also have to challenge themselves while solving puzzles and taking action against infectious monsters. The game will start with the cruise ship arriving at a dark base with no power or proper landing pad. Having been forced to land away from the base, the player must traverse the moon's surface. The game's discovery aesthetic drives the players to explore new horizons as they navigate to the base, and this will serve as the tutorial to the player as they solve puzzles, and familiarize themselves with an array of full-range motion mechanics, shooting, targeting, and interaction controls. After arriving at Jupiter 2, it falls to the player to explore the entrance in various levels while attempting to survive the horrors that await. Players will discover the mystery of the calamity while fighting their way through the facility, finding survivors, and uncovering the origin of the misfortunate event. The players will have interesting game choices that will alter their story. Will they go in guns blazing or take a more subtle approach? There are natural dangers and hostile forces ahead, with corpses at nearly every turn. Along the way, players will discover puzzles and clues that help them uncover the mysterious circumstances of their arrival, as well as the tragedy that has befallen the crew. Puzzle game mechanics are prevalent throughout most levels and must be deciphered to advance the story, with many puzzles requiring players to piece together clues discovered through insights about their surroundings. The game will feature an interactive, dynamic environment that can only be navigated by figuring out how to move objects, opening locks, doors, and closing off breaches. Players are also encouraged to find a unique gravity gun that can be used to solve some of the most challenging puzzles. Jetpacks are an important part of the challenge aesthetic. They must be used to overcome the various gravity puzzles. Learning how to use the gravity gun in conjunction with the jetpack to defeat antagonists and overcome obstacles is the essential game mechanics loop that makes Lunar Madness Entombed unique, fresh, and innovative. As the story unfolds, players will uncover an infection rampant throughout Jupiter 2 that causes madness and rapid mutation. If left untreated, the infection causes complete transformation of the individual into a violent, monstrous being that can potentially infect the player with this unnatural affliction. The player must uncover the origin of this mysterious blight, all to be revealed near the end of the game, given the player can survive to that point. While exploring the confines of the compound, players will discover some healthy survivors trapped by the afflicted. This will offer an interesting game choice. When coming in contact with the deceased and recently infected, giving them the option to either attack discovered residents with signs of infection or attempt to contain and rehabilitate them. Once a player discovers a healthy human or heals an infected one, the player must lead these people to safe rooms positioned throughout the facility. Once a survivor is safely released into a safe room, the player earns points. Although Lunar Madness Entombed is a narrative-driven experience, a score is kept and leaderboards are relevant, as most of the game's mechanics necessary to succeed in the game require a refinement of skill. The more people they save, the higher scores they can earn. When engaging in combat, players will become more effective when they find and unlock more powerful weapons that residents have hidden throughout the moon base. The game will showcase a progressive item system that unlocks more powerful tools, weapons, modifications, and schematics as the player progresses through the story by solving puzzles. The player can carry these weapons and medicines via an inventory system familiar to most RPG genre game players. The positive feedback loop rewards players for playing well. It also allows players to build on their successes, which in turn helps fuel an emotion of accomplishment that helps keep players interested in playing more. If you can dream it, the K7000 can print it. In 2084, technology exists that allows humans to easily craft objects useful to their needs. Using elements and materials found scattered throughout the base, the players will be able to take advantage of the progressive item system to craft an array of weapons and items to aid the player in their struggle throughout Jupiter 2. This can be done by visiting one of the many safe areas on the map that contain a K7000 periodic table crafting device. Players load the system with elements in their possession necessary for whatever it is they need to create. Players can also infuse elements into weapons at these stations to alter them for their needs. They may also create keys needed for doors, health items, as well as suit upgrades for ease of story progression. More importantly, if they have the misfortune of catching the infection, they can heal themselves with different types of medicines they craft at these stations, using new recipes for medicines as more elements are obtained. An important game mechanic is the player's sanity meter. As infectious pathogens enter the player's avatar, the ability for the player to remain sane is reduced. Players must skillfully manage this constant threat to stay alive, or at least be effective. The efficiency of these curing medicines depends on how aggressively the infection has spread throughout their nervous system. While players are solving puzzles, engaging in combat, crafting weapons and medicines, and saving survivors, players will eventually discover the source of the infection. By mining the moon's core too aggressively, the survivors unearth an eldritch horror, a monstrous entity beyond human comprehension, found encased within the rare elements harvested. The mystery of this creature, how it came to be, and how it can be defeated is the premise for the game's sequel. The game will be released on all modern consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, virtual reality gear, as well as a throwback Dreamcast version to attract players who pirate games. A port of the game that will run on the Samsung refrigerator TV will come later to capture the market of late-night snackers that enjoy a good scare. Lastly, a board game version will be released for players that can't get enough of fighting bad guys and saving survivors, even when the power is out. The VR version will focus on the immersion of the fantasy aesthetic more than the others. The unique features of VR allow users to have a truly more immersive, interactive experience while solving mysteries, surviving, and saving survivors. Eliciting suspenseful emotions as the players solve puzzles, combat enemies, and unlock the mysteries of the Eldritch Horror is made easier with the VR format. The console versions will contain multiple game modes for online competitive play with an emphasis on esports tournaments. The online tournaments will be organized and hosted by our partnership with Major League Esports. They will consist of live end-of-season championship events held in the esports arena at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas every January. In short, Lunar Madness Entombed is a science fiction action mystery survival adventure that uses discovery, challenge, fantasy, and narrative aesthetics. Game mechanics include full-range movement, dynamic environment interaction, gravity-challenging puzzles, and the progressive item system. Players must find and save the residents of the Jupiter 2 mining facility while discovering, exploring, solving puzzles, engaging in combat, crafting weapons and medicines, and leading survivors to safety. Thank you for considering Trotting Fox Studios for your investment dollars, because we kind of lost it all in Bitcoin.